For way too long, I thought that staying quiet, staying humble would make me easier to work with. You know, you always want to be the chill one, the reliable, the team player. But what it really did was make me invisible. And today I want to tell you about the day that I realized my silence was costing me everything. My confidence, my peace, my goals, and money. And no one wants to lose money, right? And how I finally found my voice. And by the end of this video, hopefully my cautionary tale will help you realize that dimming your light isn't doing you any favors and that you need to stop doing that. I used to tell myself, just work hard, stay humble, and your work will speak for itself. You can probably guess about how well that worked out for me. While I was trying to keep the peace and not step on anybody's toes, my coworkers were speaking up and getting rewarded for it. They were out here getting raises, accolades, praise, while I was doing 3 jobs for 1 fucking paycheck, just waiting for somebody to notice me. And while I was right, silence might help you avoid conflict, it's also gonna keep having you stepped over. And I got stepped over plenty of times. While I was right, silence does help you avoid conflict. It also stifles your progress. As our elders say, closed mouths don't get fed. And I was just starving for recognition that I didn't even ask for. And that's when I realized I can't expect people to value what I don't showcase or show off. But once I started using my voice, advocating myself, and claiming my fucking word loud and proud, people started listening. But you're probably guessing, girl, who the fuck are you? Well, let me tell you. Hi, I'm Ashley. I help women rebuild their confidence, set boundaries, stop people pleasing so they can start living their lives for themselves. And the moment that I was just telling you about, and this whole little thing is exactly why I do what I do. It took me way too long to realize that I was holding myself back, and I don't want you guys to do the same. And all this is why I do exactly what I do. Because silence, yes, it feels safe, it feels comfortable, it feels cozy, but it also keeps you fucking stuck. And we don't want to be stuck. So it's almost 2026. We're not about to keep doing this. And the first thing we need to do to stop doing this is to realize that our silence is teaching people how to treat. I can't even begin to tell you how many times I said, oh, it's fine, don't worry about it, when it really wasn't. I was taking extra shifts, I was fixing other people's mistakes, and I never said a word, all in the name of being a team player, right? But every time I stayed quiet, I was teaching people that it was okay to take advantage of me. That, oh, if I mess up, Ashley will be there to take care of it. I had to remind myself that speaking up wasn't rude. In fact, it's self-respect. Hell, self-preservation, if you will. And the first time I said no without over-explaining, granted, it was uncomfortable. That's just how it is. But it also felt powerful. Like, I didn't die. They didn't throw a pie in my face or whatever. So I just kept moving. You can't just make up these imaginary boundaries in your head and then people follow them. They're not mind readers. You have to enforce your boundaries. You don't have to yell. You don't have to make a scene, get out of pocket. You just have to stand firm. If this is hitting a little too close to home, don't forget to hit subscribe for more real talk about boundaries, healing, and finding our voice. Finding your voice might sound a little scary, and for the longest time, it was something I was terrified of. Because it felt like if I spoke up for what I really wanted, it would create conflict. And I avoided conflict like it was the plague, okay? My chest would tighten, my voice would shake, and I'd rehearse a conversation in my head. And I would rehearse conversations in my head about 11 times, only to get into that moment and say absolutely fucking nothing. Now, speaking up and finding your voice might seem a little scary, especially if you're used to biting your tongue and staying quiet, all for the sake of keeping the peace. I get it. I avoided conflict like it was the fucking plague. Anytime I would go to try and set a boundary or try and speak up for myself, my chest would tighten, my voice would shake, and my hands would be sweating like absolutely crazy. Even if I rehearsed what I was going to say 11 times, which I always did. In the moment, I would just word vomit and end up saying absolutely nothing. Mainly because I was more concerned with everybody else's comfort and considering mine last. things. But if you can think back for a second to the last video I did about my calm method, if you didn't watch that, you should go check it out. Instead of spiraling or shutting down, going hermit mode, I had to connect with what I was actually feeling. Acknowledge the fear that I had, whether it was fear of judgment, fear of being rejected, fear of being laughed at, without judging the fear that I had. Listen for what that fear was trying to tell me. And then the hardest part, actually moving forward with what you're going to do. You have to really think about it, and then you get the clarity. You actually think about what's scarier, their reaction to rejecting you or judging you, or continuing to live your life for everyone else. And that question alone can change everything. I realize it's not the conflict or the confrontation that ruins the relationship. The dishonesty and the resentment that you hold towards that other person definitely will. You can't build a real safe connection on silence and resentment. And the people that really, really care about you can handle the truth. Well, I know what you're saying. They don't mean anything by it. I'm just doing it to be kind, to be nice. I want to be nice. I want to help out, right? I know your heart. I know that you do these things because you want to be kind, because you want to be helpful, because being a team player is all that's been ingrained into us. And babe, I get where you're coming from. I used to think that being kind meant staying quiet too, but that silence gets heavy. But all that silence is heavy, and it ends up turning into resentment disguised as peace. Keeping the peace, staying. But honestly, I was exhausted. I was drained. I hated everyone. No, I love them to death, but they got on my fucking nerves, okay? I was starting to resent them, and they had absolutely no idea why, because I wouldn't speak up and say anything. Then when I started to use my voice, telling them no, telling them what to do instead of actually doing it for them, everything else shifted. I started to get more opportunities. Literally, and I mean this literally, every single one of my relationships got stronger. And most importantly, I started to trust myself again. Trust that my voice meant something. Trust that I knew what I was doing. And that's because speaking up is how you honor yourself, honor your emotions, honor your boundary, and honor your worth. For so long, way too fucking long, I thought that staying quiet would protect me from failure and rejection, but it didn't. For so long, way too fucking long, stuck in half-baked relationships, a job that didn't appreciate me, and family gatherings that were fucking miserable. So yes, while silence may help you keep the peace and it may seem like people like you more, but it's also keeping you small, lonely, and resentful. And I'm here to tell you that you deserve way better than that. And if you've ever felt yourself shrinking in rooms where you should be really walking in head high, tits up like you're that fucking girl, head over to my next video and let's talk about why people's discomfort isn't your fucking problem and why it's time for you to show up as the biggest, brightest, boldest version of yourself. I'll see you there.